Thank you, Raf. So this is exciting for me because, normally I just MC these events, which means I warm up the crowd, I hype up each talk, I do a little jig, but now today I actually get to present some slides. It's really exciting. And some research our team has done. Before I get into that, I want to start with a story. So about 10 years ago, I left the media and journalism world. And since then, in the 10 years that I've worked, leading content and marketing teams, I think I've spent hours, no days, no weeks, no years, well, probably not years, but like at least months answering Slacks like this. Do we have any case studies showcasing work we've done with fundraising arms of healthcare organizations? Because do we have any marketing people in the room? I wonder if this resonates with you. It feels like an inevitable fact of working on a marketing team is that you will always be answering these Slacks and requests for sales for case studies. No matter how well you tag things, how well you organize them, sales people are busy, especially good ones, right? They got that pitch, they have that email they need to shoot off. They don't have time to sift through everything. And sometimes the use case is really specific where you never tag it, like here. And I think I've sort of accepted that as a fact of life in marketing. But the pain is also really real. It's these invisible hours that we lose as go-to-market teams, right? And it's really frustrating for the salesperson. They need to get that off, right? They need to get that email off. They need to get that deck ready. They have a bunch of deals to work. They don't want to wait for a response or to shift around trying to find what they're looking for. For marketing teams, you get pulled out of the flow of work to have to go on Slack and then find the case study and respond and then figure out what you're doing in the first place. And researchers have actually been able to quantify the pain that we have here. Every time that we get distracted and lose focus, it actually takes us 23 minutes to refocus. And that doesn't count however long it took us through that task that we got distracted by. I found this crazy economic impact study by The Economist that was conducted recently, and that found that in the US, we lose $468 billion to distraction and loss of focus every year. That's massive, but we just sort of accept it as a fact of life at work. I think that in this use case, I sort of accepted that as just part of the job. Will spend the rest of my life answering Slacks about case studies because that's just how it is. But then generative AI enters the chat. So the next part of the story, I want to introduce a hero. Where's May? May, can you stand up? May is our hero in the story. May is a marketing strategist on our team. And she saw that this was a real pain that the sales team was feeling, right? Finding case studies. So she wanted to do something about it. So she built this, which we're in the process of rolling out to our sales team. It's a sales enablement GPT. So you can ask it any question that you might have about a case study, and it gives you a very specific answer, right? You can also use it to write sales emails. It's really, really powerful. And this is where we see the power of generative AI, right? May built this with a builder named Moshe from our network. I think we'll probably show it in more depth in a future salon. But they were able to do this in just a couple weeks. And we're moving from this world where before we might have to go and buy a SaaS solution, right? That's really a feature masquerading as a product to solve this very specific sales enablement problem. But now we're in a world where we can build these custom solutions to solve very specific problems within our go-to-market teams at almost no marginal cost. That's a huge shift in how we think about how we build things. But what's more is that May isn't, an engineer or a product manager. She is someone who is really curious about AI. And these tools suddenly unlock the ability for us to build things that we never could before. And when Raphael talks about the 3 horizons of AI, this is what we see, right? Around workflow efficiency and productivity. This is the first horizon that we're working towards. If we look at the data around where people are seeing real ROI from generative AI initiatives, it's here. There was an IDC study that recently surveyed global leaders who are investing heavily in generative AI, and those that are seeing $3.50 in returns for every dollar that they invest. And the main area they're focused on is this workflow efficiency. How do we make our teams do less of the work that doesn't really matter, less of the work that we don't want to do? And this is the real possibility that we have moving forward for generative AI to work on the things that really matter to us. But our content team at A.Team does a lot of research. And one thing that we were really, really curious about is how is this playing out within our broader network? So at A.Team, we have a very specialized AI guild of top AI expert builders that we train up, that we give access to partnerships and training with partners like OpenAI. But we also have a broader network of 9,000 top 1% Silicon Valley product builders, engineers, data scientists, designers, that we also wanted to really learn how are they leveraging generative AI in just a year post ChatGPT. How is it transforming the way that they work? And that's what I want to reveal here today. This is research that we haven't published yet. We're not going to publish it until mid-February when we start pushing out to the media and try and get some pickup. But we're all friends here, so I hope we can keep this in this room and in this virtual room. And I just want to share a few key findings that I found really, really fascinating from this research. So the first is that when we surveyed about 220 of these builders from network, we see that the adoption is already really, really strong. 92% say that generative AI already increases their productivity, and 88% anticipate using generative AI more in the year ahead. But what gets really, really interesting is when we look at the specific use cases, and they're very broad. One of the ideas around generative AI that I find the most fascinating is that we don't fully know everything that it can do, right? Anytime that any of us are logging on to ChatGPT Plus or Claude 2 and playing around with these tools, we have the potential to discover use cases that weren't here before. And we see in the use cases that's amplifying the productivity of the builders in our network that it's really wide ranging. It's for anything from test generation to automation of scripts and documentation to softer skills, right? Like marketing and launching a product or client communication. Also, fascinatingly, we look at where they're reinvesting that saved time. And here again, we see that promise of what generative AI can do for us. That time is reinvested in strategic thinking, in upskilling and learning new skills, in taking on additional projects, and perhaps most importantly for our personal health, actually taking that time and not necessarily working as much, reinvesting it in hobbies outside of work. And this kind of leads me to what I'm starting to call the personal ROI of AI, especially within this group of independent product builders that's growing and growing and growing, where this technology is incredibly impactful. 91% say that generative AI has made them more attractive to their clients and employers. 80% say that it's increased their earning potential. When the research comes out, you'll see just how much it's increasing people's earning potential, and it's pretty surprising. And 68% say that these tools make them more likely to continue their career as an independent builder, as a freelancer. Interestingly enough, we did a survey this week that you might have seen if you subscribe to Build Mode, our newsletter. If you don't, definitely should. There's print versions of it all over here. Where we saw that knowledge workers more broadly are actually more attracted to freelance work because of generative AI, which makes sense, right? If you can maximize your time, if you can produce better output, if you can do higher quality work, it incentivizes the idea of working for yourself. And so I just want to leave you here today with an idea that we're really excited about at A.Team. We have a lot of conversation in the zeitgeist around how AI is going to take our jobs, and that's undoubtedly a threat and a concern that we have to take seriously. However, I think there's also another reality, which is that amongst the most highly skilled tech builders out there, this technology is incredibly powerful. It allows us to do more work that is meaningful to us, to automate the stuff that we don't want to do. And I would argue that as we see this adoption coming more and more and more, we may be entering an era where we see a new type of worker, something we call a super builder. And on the creative side, we might see the rise of super creators, people who can not just 5x or 10x their output, but even go beyond that. And I think that's a really exciting world of work that we can build together, where AI doesn't work against us, where it works for us, where it allows us to accomplish the creative, strategic work that really thrills us. And I really hope that you join us in building that work alongside us. So thank you so much.